وما أدراك ما القارعة يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش فأما من ثقلت موازينه فهو في عيشة راضية وأما من خفت موازينه فأمه هاوية وما أدراك ما هي نار حامية.
صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه. Inshallah, from next week, I'll come up as video call. I think that's better so we can see each other. But today, because I'm worried about the internet speed, I had to come up as audio call. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. القارئة. ما القارئة وما أدراك ما القارئة. As we have explained before in Tadabbur, what we do, we classify ayahs to different groups. Surah Qari'ah, the whole surah is one group of ayahs, because when we go through the meanings, you will see that it doesn't change, the meaning doesn't change. We go through two different explanation, two different type of explanation, but all it follows each other, and the second part is explanation for the first part. So it's not that we don't classify Surah Qari'ah to different groups of ayats. All one groups of ayats, just two different groups, which explains the second group is still continuing explaining about the first group. Al-Qari'ah. Qari'ah, the roots in Arabic is qara'a. Qara'a means slamming, knocking. Al-Qari'ah, in different translation I checked, in English translation, the most adopted meaning with Tadabbur was the striker calamity or crushing. Or in fact, Al-Qari'ah, which we will understand when we follow the ayats, is the day when everything will be crushed. Or they had translated it as the unprecedented crash. So Qara'a means slamming, knocking, or pounding. And Al-Qari'ah means knocker. We translate it like that, which knocks everything, knocker or hitter. And Mal-Qari'ah. Mal-Qari'ah, ma here, ayat number 2, means what is. What is the striking calamity, or what is Qari'ah? You know, when in the literature of Quran, wherever Allah brings ma like this, it is question, but it's not the question which Allah seeks for the answer. No, He wants to show how great, or how, for example, if it's good, how great it is, or if it's bad, how awful and how terrible it is. You know, he wants to show that how terrible it is, that we cannot even feel it, we cannot even imagine it. Mal Qari'ah, what is the striking calamity? What is Qari'ah? And again, وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا الْقَارِعَةُ. Again, is question. What will make you comprehend what is Qari'ah? What will make you know what is the striking calamity? But again, in a way that Allah wants to tell us that you can't even imagine it. It's not like a simple crash or something you can imagine, for example, earthquake, which we have experienced on the earth, all this, which it crushes everything, but it's not to that level we can even imagine like that. So wherever Allah brings mal qari'ah or wa ma adraka, Allah wants to tell us that okay, there is nothing that I can bring as an example that you can even feel it, you can similarize it together. In ayat number 4, يَوْمَ يَكُونُ النَّاسُ كَالْفَرَاشِ الْمَبْثُوثِ. يَوْمَ يَكُونُ النَّاسُ, يَوْمَ means the day. A day when nas, nas means people. يَوْمَ يَكُونُ النَّاسُ, a day when people, كَالْفَرَاشِ الْمَبْثُوث. Ka in Arabic means like. A day when people will be like farash al-mabsus. Farash means butterflies or moths, and mabsus means which they are wandering about. For example, it has been translated as scattered. A day when people will be like scattered moths, scattered butterflies, which we will explain why it is like that. And then وَتَكُونُ الْجِبَالُ كَالْإِحْنِ الْمَنْفُوشِ. Jebal means mountain. And on that day, that is the day, the mountains will be like, again, كَالْإِحْنِ. Kal, like, manfush. Means wool. Will be like wool. How? Manfush, fluffed up. You know, when they want to make blanket, I don't know if you have seen it as traditional way, that they loosen the wool by special tools. Wool is not hard itself. And imagine when they want to make blanket or mattress or pillow, they loosen the wool by fluffing up the wool. In that case, it is saying that mountains will become like that. Mountains which we know them as very strong and a symbol of stability, a symbol of toughness, strong roots. Mountains, they will become like that. So what Allah wants to tell us is that there will be a day which qara'a will happen. Everything will be crushed. So don't think, what's the first message? Is that don't think this stability and this calmness you have got today in this world, it will be permanent. No. One day it will be destroyed. One day everything will be crushed. And you will not have this calmness and stability. And in fact, in this surah, Allah doesn't want to explain qari'ah, doesn't explain it. Okay, it says what is qari'ah. Then in ayat number 4, Allah says يَوْمَ يَكُونُ النَّاسُ كَالْفَرَاشِ الْمَبْثُوثِ. It looks like that Allah doesn't explain qari'ah. Allah wants to say that what I'm explaining to you about what happens to people, يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش, and mountains will become as softened wood. This is one of the things which will happen on that day. It's not that the whole day, whatever happens is these two. No. Of course, that day will be a day to judge everybody, and lots of things happens. Just Allah is saying, imagine that one of the things or two of the things will happen on that day are these two, which we will explain that why Allah has used these two examples. Like before, we said that whenever Allah makes oaths in Quran, makes qasam or swear by something, there is a relationship between qasam or oath and the contents of surah. Same here, when Allah used these two examples, between all whatever happens and the day of Qiyamah, Allah is just bringing these two examples. There is a relationship between these two examples and the content of the surah, which we will go through it. So Allah said, يَوْمَ يَكُونُ النَّاسُ كَالْفَرَاشِ الْمَبْثُوثِ. We said that farash means butterflies or moths, and mabsus, wandering, or in a way that they are scattered. Okay, why it is like, why Allah has used this? What's the specification of scattered moths or butterflies? For example, imagine you have gone to a park, okay, to a green area, which there are flowers and there are lots of butterflies. Imagine how they fly everywhere. They're so light, yeah, they're so light, and they just wandering around. One butterfly goes that way, one, it looks like that they don't know what they are doing, which direction they are taking. They're just wandering. If you have seen that, it's exactly like that, very light, and as a very for example, a low speed flow or wind can change their direction. So they're just wandering as light, and they've got no control of themselves. In fact, if for example, a storm comes or a wind blows. So Allah is saying that qari'ah, and which is a crushed day, which is that the striker calamity, is the day that one of the things happens in that is that people are like wandering moths. They feel so light and they are just wandering around. And then Allah is in ayat number 5 brings the examples of mountains. Okay, we think that why Allah is bringing mountains as an example. As we said, that because mountains are the symbols of stability, strength and toughness in this world. And for example, when we want to bring an example and say that something is very stable and tough and strong, we say, oh, it's like a mountain. Or even in from Ahl al-Bayt, we have different traditions and riwayats that they have called mu'min, believers, they have called them as firm mountain, Jabal al-Rasikh. Or in Quran, they mention mountains as a nail for the grounds. Allah is saying that when qari'ah happens on that day, yawma, what happens on that day? Even mountains, they will become like loose wool. As we explained, that wool on its own is not hard, it is loose. And when they, after batting, when they want to make, for example, mattress, it becomes even looser. Mountains become like that. So you see that Allah didn't explain the reality of qari'ah here. Just brought two examples to explain the specification of that day, which qari'ah happens. It means that Allah wants, from one point is that Allah wants to say that we can't even explain it. We can't explain it in the way that you can imagine it. But by these 5 ayats, Allah wants to prepare our minds to say something to us. What is that? Okay, why Allah spoke about qari'ah and يَوْمَ يَكُونُ النَّاسُ كَالْفَرَاشِ الْمَبْثُوثِ وَتَكُونُ الْجِبَالُ كَالْعِهْنِ الْمَنْفُوشِ. Because then in fact, Allah is warning us. And we know that any warning in Quran is meaningful, is purposeful, is not without intention, just warning. No, there is something behind it. So in ayat number 6, Allah is saying, فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ means then, fa means then, but, amma, but, man means the mankind, he. ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ, he whose deeds weigh heavy. ثَقُلَتْ, it comes from Saqil. Saqil in Farsi, we use Saqil. I don't know, maybe in Urdu you use it as well, that it means heavy. So then he whose deeds weigh heavy, or whose good deeds will weigh heavier, فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ, then he will live a pleasant life. He will live the pleasant life at the same day of Qara, which we will explain. And after that. And then وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ, but he whose deeds weigh light, فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ, will have Hawiya as his mother. Ummuhu. Ayat number 9. Means mother. فَأُمُّهُ, who means his Ummuhu Hawiya, his mother will be Hawiya, or will have Hawiya as his mother. Okay, what Allah wants to say, tell us by this thing. فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. What does mawazin means? Mawazin is the plural for mizan in Arabic. Mizan means the measure. We know that weighing everything requires a suitable tool. Yeah, for example, if we want to measure mass, we use, for example, scale. If we want to measure length, we use, for example, length measurements, or speed. There is a special tools to measure it. So for everything, there is a special tool, suitable tool to weigh it or to measure it. Okay, for spiritual matters also, they have their own proportions, or they are measured in proportion to something. For example, when we do something, our actions, or our beliefs, these will be measured by a special tool, special criteria. This is mizan. Okay. فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. So in different ayats of Quran and Surah Qara, Allah introduces Quran as the measure for our spiritual matters. Let me explain it in other way. Look, whatever we do, okay, whatever we do in life is based on our beliefs, yeah, and our beliefs and tendencies, what we love. For example, whatever we think about, that it is right or it is wrong, it is based on our beliefs. Or we are Muslim or we are non-Muslim, whatever. We have some beliefs. Or if we do something, like something to do, or we don't dislike something, or we don't like something, it means that those are our tendencies. And then comes to our behaviors and actions. All these, they have got criteria to be measured. Allah is saying Quran is the tools to measure all these. So when Allah is saying فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ, ثَقُلَتْ, which is heavy means that, so it means that whatever we think, our beliefs or our tendencies or our behaviors and actions, if the criteria is Quran, is whatever Allah has told us, it means that this criteria is heavy. So in the literature of Quran, we can explain it in this way, that in the literature of Quran, the criteria which is based on Quran and Allah's orders, which comes together, and Ahlul Bayt will explain them to us according to tafsir and by the help of rawayats and traditions. Then it will become our criteria. So if the criteria is whatever Allah has told us, what if the criteria is Quran, then we can say saqulat mawazinuhu. If the criteria is material things, for example, whatever we like or dislike is because of our material beneficial. For example, there is a food, okay, you go to a shop, for example, you go to McDonald's, okay, there you want to buy a sandwich. Oh, you can see a very delicious sandwich there, for example, as a burger or whatever. Okay, it depends what is your criteria. If your criteria is enjoying your food with no and doesn't matter to you what's the criteria of Quran and Ahlul Bayt, we will eat it. This becomes that part of that man khaffat mawazino. It means that our criteria is not heavy, is light, according to the literature of Quran. But if we think that no, that is not halal, that is haram, then that mizan or mawazin, those are those kind of mawazin and criteria which according to the criteria of Quran are thaqulat, are heavy. Now go back to ayat number 4. The day yakunu yawma yakunu nasu kalfarash al-mabsus. That those moths or butterflies, they're wandering around very lightly. In the literature of Quran, nas generally is used for non-believers. Yes, there is that point that the nas Allah uses for everybody, and then makes an exception. For example, after nas, it says, for example, innal insana lafi khusr, or insan. Okay, innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salah. Then after that brings an exception as illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salah. There is 2 points here that we can say nas, Allah means nas by here in ayat 4, just non-believers who their criteria was light, was materially, so it's not heavy on the day of resurrection, on the day of Qiyamah. So they are like butterflies, they feel so light and they are just wandering around. But those who فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. So the first group was those who man khaffat mawazinu. It was light, their criteria. So now on the day of resurrection, they're wandering around, and because whatever they have taken with themselves doesn't mean anything. It's not heavy according to the literature of Quran. It's not heavy, it's so light. But those who their mawazin or their criteria was ثقلت. فأما من ثقلت موازينه is heavy that day فهو في عيشة راضية. They will live a pleasant life. Allah is saying that it here wants to say 2 points, that okay, those people who they were with man khaffat mawazinuhu on the day of resurrection, they are having no weight with themselves. Their criteria is so light, khaffat, which is so negative here, and they are just wandering around. But those who man thaqulat mawazinuhu, their criteria, it was heavy because it was according to Quran and Allah's order. They فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. It means that even on that day, which qari'ah happens, which everything is crushed, فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. They live a pleasant life. It means that, so when we say qari'ah, it's those people who they have gone there with ثقلت موازينه, they will not be crushed. what they have taken with themselves will not be crushed. They, even in that critical situation, they feel عيشة راضية. They feel in a very pleasant life. Even one of the point is that Allah doesn't say that they have a pleasant life. It says that فهو في عيشة راضية. It means that that's the same situation, that everything is crushed and the qara'a is happening. Even in that situation, they feel so happy, they feel very pleasant with life, and they will not be crushed. So in Surah Qara, in fact, Allah is dividing people to different groups based on their criteria for their beliefs, for their tendencies, and for behaviors and actions. That one group is their criteria is according to Quran, which is Saqulat Mawazinuhu, and one group which is according to material things, which is Khaffat Mawazinuhu. For example, imagine two people. One people goes for jihad, sacrifice his life and property to save Islam, to save to obey Quran orders, and because his criteria is that if I do jihad for the sake of Islam, and even if I lose my life and properties and families, it will be beneficial for me on the day of resurrection, which Qara happens. I've gone there with Saqulat Mawazinahu. But another person thinks that, oh no, if I go to jihad, I will lose my life, I will lose my family, so what's the benefit? His criteria of beliefs, tendencies, and actions are just based on material things, based on this world. So Allah wants to, in Surah Qara, wants to explain these two different criteria. And in fact, by وَتَكُونُ الْجِبَالُ كَالْعِهْنِ الْمَنْفُوشِ, Allah wants to tell us that how strong is your criteria. When qara'a happens, it will not be safe. It will be crushed. So nothing, even the very strong criteria, which you see, for example, if somebody thinks that, oh, my money will save me, my power will save me, whatever, Allah is saying, all these, you will see on that day, which qara happens, that it will be so light. It looks like you don't have anything with you. So when وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ, whoever is his criteria is like that, is so light, فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. So he will have Hawiya as his mother. Okay, why Allah used mother here? Because one point is that, okay, in that day when Qara happens, people need a mother to go to, to be safe. This is in fact, Allah wants to say that, okay, now that on that day you are searching for refuge to be calm and to be safe, like next to your mother. But that day your mother, God forbidden, will be Hawiya. And another reason which Allah used mother is that it is said that, for example, mother, when they cuddle their children, they cover it totally. Hawiya, which is وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا هِيَ نَارٌ حَامِيَةٌ, which is a hot blazing fire, it covers the person, God forbidden, on that day. That's why it has been used as mother. فأمه هاوية. هاوية will be his, he will have هاوية as his mother. وما أدراك ما هي. Again, what will make you know what it is? وما, what will أدراك. أدراك, it comes from dark. It is comprehend. What will make you comprehend? ما, again, what? Here, what it is. نار حامية. It is a hot blazing fire, intensely hot. So generally in Surah Qari'ah, Allah spoke about a phenomenon like called Qari'ah, which will happen on a day, which in that day people will be like butterflies, moths wandering around, scattered moths, and mountains will be converted to very softened wool. And then Allah used these as an introduction to tell people that be careful of your criterias, what you eat, the way you live, or the way you behave, or even the way you fulfill the rights of people towards you. All these, be careful of your criterias, your mawazin. Be careful what they are, what are your criterias, because how firm and strong are your criterias if they are not compatible with Quran and what Allah has said, they will be like al-jabalu kal-ihn al-manfush. And then it looks like you haven't taken anything with you. It's so light, khaffat mawazinahu, and it will not benefit you on the day which Qari'ah happens. But if your criteria has been according to Quran and Allah's, then even on the day that Qari'ah happens, you will be safe, yeah. And those people, فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. Even in that strike, in when there is a strike, a calamity, when everything is crushed, they will be safe and they will have a pleasant life. Okay. Then people may question that, for example, because we say that those people who their beliefs, the criteria for their beliefs should be according to, for example, Quran and all. There, maybe this question comes to the mind that, okay, maybe some people, the question, their criteria of beliefs is according to Islam, but their actions is not. They don't act according to their beliefs. It is said that according to ayahs of Quran that be sure that anybody who they don't act according to the criteria of Quran and their mawazin and criteria is not heavy according to Quran, is not compatible with Quran, be sure that even their beliefs is not that strong. Although outwardly they say we believe, but inside it's not that strong. That's why that even we say that it has been advised that if, for example, you see that somebody doesn't live according to the criteria of Quran, you should review their beliefs. Or if, for example, a person who is not happy with his own actions, that, oh, well, I'm not acting according to Islam, but I'm believing, he should revise his beliefs. And again, there are questions about, for example, okay, when we say ثقلت موازينه, What if our criteria is that we say that, okay, our imams is our criteria, but our action is not according to Islam, for example, and we say that, oh, you just believe in imam, again we come to the meaning of shafa'at, which we have discussed it many times before, that our beliefs is that, okay, Allah is saying obey, you should obey imam 100%. Okay, for example, we say that, oh, we say we have got this imam, we liked him, we keep, for example, we do so much matam for the imam, but then when we go back to daily life, we see that in our life is not exactly according to that criteria. Again, that is part of those man khaffat mawazinahu. Because according to Surah Ma'arij, inshallah we will come to that and we will study that, without acting, without the criteria of acting according to Quran, how much we say that, oh, we love Imam, or for example, in their matams, and or we say that, oh, we like them, and we show our emotions, but if our actions and behavior is not according to the criteria of Quran and Allah, again that is part of man khaffat mawazinahu. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Okay, I think I've explained all the points of Surah Qara. If there is any question, in fact, all the points which has been involved in tadabbur in the first level. When I say all the points, it doesn't mean everything about Surah Qara, because we know that Quran has got different levels of meaning, and we are just going through the first level of meaning. Okay, if there is any question.